Aiming in Call of Duty Warzone. Pretty important, isn't it? Well, this video is going to help you get better at it and ultimately get more kills and win more games. Let's start with some settings that you should use before we get into some stuff you can actually do in-game. First up, there's aim assist settings. These determine how strong the drag or aim assistance is and how big the radius is when your sights are on an enemy, essentially meaning how near an enemy your aim has to be. Generally, standard or precision are best here. Standard has the largest radius but has a fairly weak strength of drag, whereas with precision you get a small radius but a stronger aim drag. So you can choose how much of an assistance you need. Do you need help actually staying locked on to people? Then precision is for you, as it's much easier to track an enemy. Then standard gives you a helping hand to actually get your aim on the enemy in the first place. I made a whole video going over the three options in depth, which you can find by clicking in the top right corner of your screens now, or finding the link down in the description. Next, we have the aim response curve. It's really tricky to say exactly which one is the best for you, as it depends on how much time you've actually got under your belt on Warzone already. But generally, pro Warzone players use dynamic or linear due to the enhanced speed they have at the beginning of their movement. The standard aim response curve actually means you move slightly slower than your sensitivity setting in the initial phase when trying to spin or move around, before speeding back up. I personally use dynamic just because I'm kind of used to that now, but if I was new or trying to readjust my game again, I'd probably go for linear, which has no artificial speed-ups or slowdowns incorporated into it, it's just all you. Again, I have a full video about this that you can click in the top right corner, or by following the link in the description. The last setting I'm going to talk about is your sensitivity. Now this is really up to you. I run 5.5 or 6.6 for horizontal and vertical, which has a nice balance of being able to actually hit my shots, but also turn quickly enough to win up close gunfights. For ADS sensitivity, you want this a little lower than the standard, maybe at 0.8 or 0.9, just so when you are aimed in, you can slow down and be a little bit more precise. Really, you want your sensitivity as high as possible without hindering your accuracy. If you are really struggling with your aim, knocking down your sensitivity is actually a great way to improve very quickly. Okay, now let's go into how to improve your aim in Warzone when you're actually in the game. I'm gonna start with what some people call centering. This is all about where your aim is at rest when you're approaching areas where people could be. For example, if you're running towards a house, if you have your crosshairs aimed at windows and doors, you'll stand a much better chance at hitting your shots if someone does pop up there, as opposed to trying to snap onto them. This is the same in corridors and in the streets as well. Essentially, this is the art of anticipating enemy locations. I see too many players half looking down at the floor like truffle pigs. When you know an enemy is nearby, you probably aim down your sights at where you think an enemy likely is, right? Well, this is kinda the same, just with your crosshairs when somebody could be there. This tip is kinda hard to get ingrained in your system. You just need to keep playing and applying this approach until it becomes second nature. Now I want to talk about the weapons you use. There's about 100 of them in Warzone, each with its own recoil pattern, i.e. how the gun reacts when you hold down the trigger. Some bounce way up into the sky, some remain pretty steady. Of course, you could just use the steady weapons to improve your aim in Warzone, but often these weapons are weaker and you need to hit way more shots to get a kill. We can see this at the minute with weapons like the Kilo, Grau and M13. Currently, the C58 is the meta, and a little before that, it was the AMAX. These are way more powerful but have quite bouncy recoil. Of course, we can put attachments on to try and help, but as the user, there's stuff we can do as well. We can learn the recoil pattern and try and pull against that when shooting at full auto. This may sound a little daunting, but I bet you already do this to an extent, without really realizing it if you have used the same weapon hundreds of times. If you're using the AMAX and you see it fly up and to the left, you want to try and practice shooting whilst pulling it down and to the right to minimize the effect of that recoil. At a longer distance, I recommend actually just burst firing rather than holding down the trigger, as this also minimizes recoil massively. A final note on the weapons themselves is to understand their bullet velocity. Some have quite bad drop off and low velocity, where you may have to aim a little in front of players at certain distances, whilst others you can just aim right onto the enemy at pretty considerable distances and they'll just hit fine. Keep a keen eye on your weapon's bullet velocity and the attachments that you're applying. By doing this, you can apply it in-game and practice where you want to be aiming at certain distances. This is probably best exemplified in snipers. We all know they dip quite a bit on Warzone at longer distances or take a little longer to hit their target, and it's the same for other weapons too. My final piece of advice is to practice everything we've talked about. This can be done just by playing a lot of Warzone, but if you're trying new things out, you might not want to get destroyed. So you can just go into a lobby with AI bots on Modern Warfare to train a few different things and warm up before heading into Warzone. A little tip when using bot lobbies to warm up is to increase the health of the bots to something higher than just the standard 100. This is to make it a little harder and closer to what you'll deal with in Warzone. If you wanted a full recreation, you can actually put them up to 250 health, which is the same as an enemy in Warzone with full plates. With enough practice, you can put a lot of the good habits like recoil control and centering into your subconscious and your game without even having to think about them. You've just got to stick with it and keep trying. Hopefully this video helps you out. If it has, give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already for more Warzone videos, shorts and streams. Bye for now.